Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's session, Future Skills Sustaining Women in Cybersecurity. And I'm Richa Pamar, and I'll be your host for the day. And also, on behalf of EC Council, I would like to wish all the women a very happy International Women's Day. Before we get started, I would like to go over a few house rules. For our attendees, the session will be in listen-only mode and will last for an hour, out of which last 10 minutes will be dedicated to Q&A. If you have any questions during the webinar to any organizers or panelists, please post your question in the Q&A window. Also, if you face any audio video challenges, please check your internet connections or you may log out and log in again. An important announcement for certificate of attendance. Participant needs to attend the complete webinar to qualify for the certificate of attendance. Participants should fill in the survey form which will be sent to you after the email with the three multiple questions based on the webinar, and the certificate of attendance will be given to you within 5 to 7 working days. About our panelist, Irene Corpus is the moderator and panelist for this webinar. Irene Corpus has over 30 years of experience in IT operations, information security, governance, risk, compliance, project management, strategic planning, quality excellence model, ISO auditing. Irene is also co-founder of the Women in Cybersecurity Middle East and is engaged in activity that supports women and girls in their professional growth. Our next panelist, Eva Ben. Eva is a senior security PM manager at Microsoft, currently leading the offensive security PM team that secures Microsoft's largest and most important products and services across edge devices, Windows, OS and devices, Xbox, Microsoft Game Studios, and more. Eva has a background in various cybersecurity domains and a Big Four consulting firm. Our next panelist, Abir Khater. She is the head of cybersecurity at National Bank of Egypt, who has more than 25 years of experience in technology, information security. She is also the first chair of the cybersecurity committee of the Federation of Egyptian Banks, experienced chief information security officer who has led the bank's cybersecurity program and championed several local and regional community initiatives. Our next panelist, Michelle Mayo. She's PhD in cybersecurity and IT executive, author, speaker, and a professor. She has over 21 years of experience in the lead in cybersecurity, IT system engineering, and services sales as well as business execution globally across academia, industry, and government, including the US intelligence community and the US Departments of Commerce, Defense, Energy, Homeland Security, and the State Department. Our last panelist, Marlene, is a highly experienced cybersecurity leader with a successful career spanning over 2 decades. She has been instrumental in secure product development, enterprise and cloud operations architecture, engineering, governance, risk and compliance, 24/7 security operations center SOC, incident response, incident threat and internal audits of various international companies and industries. If you want to know more about our speakers, feel free to reach out to them on LinkedIn and to check our website. So without any further ado, I would like to hand over the session to you, Irene.
Thank you very much, Richa, and I'm so honored for this opportunity to be surrounded by amazing and achieving women in the field of IT, most especially in the cybersecurity field. So I'm very honored here, ladies, Michelle, Marlene, Eva, and Abir. Abir and I were both coming from the Middle East region, and the rest of the ladies here are coming from the US. So we have a number of good discussions in here. And before that, let me also greet you a happy Women's Day. And this is for the purpose of this discussion. We are building the skills and the capabilities of the women in cyber and their energy as well to stay and keep up to be in the cybersecurity through this discussion. We have a number of questions here that we'd like to discuss with you, and you will be able to share your knowledge, your experience, and your advices to our guests here, which would include how they are keeping up and how will they be coming in with in regard to the recent layoffs that's happening in the technology industries. Others that we're going to talk about are career paths in cyber, some techie part, a little, not a lot of that, and the benefits of having women in cyber in the organization, or let's say DEI. diversity, equity, and inclusion. Okay, so to begin with, I would like to ask the first question, maybe to all of you, that with the recent layoffs in the lot of tech industries, maybe your organizations as well impacted, or maybe not, how do you handle your team to make sure that they continue to be motivated and not demotivated with this situation? And do you have any programs to skill and reskill or upskill them in case their positions are like being threatened by the technologies that are coming in, most especially AI and the chat GPT saying all of this? Yeah. Can we start with Marlon?
Yes, thank you. And thank you for this opportunity to share experiences with this audience. So whenever I've had a chance to work with people that report to me or just in the environments that I've been in, I always have a mindset of helping people understand that they're in a profession. It's not just a job for us. And that's the wonderful thing about cybersecurity. This is a profession. And the skills that we have transfer to many different industries. I'm a great example of that, where I've worked in private sector, public sector, in the military. I had a career in space and cyber and retired from the military. Our career profession goes across many different industries, and even more so than ever with the emerging technologies and Internet of Things. We're seeing lots of other companies traditionally that didn't adopt technology starting to adopt technology. And so I always have a mindset to make sure that individuals are taking care of opportunities to get professional certifications, on the job training, and things that will really advance their career, not just for the current employer that they work for, but for their entire profession. And that also includes establishing a strong network.
Okay, thank you. How about Eva? How is it in the techie world, the technology industry? This is most impacted by these layoffs.
Yeah, this question actually hits very much home for me right now because my team was impacted by layoffs literally a couple of days ago. So I am currently dealing with this. It has been an emotional roller coaster, and I'm going to be very honest with you. It's incredibly hard to be here to talk about this because I am still feeling it. I think tagging on to what Marlene said, this isn't just a job. To me, my job, and I'm sure every one of us here as women, right, we are nurturers, we are carers. So for us, our team is like our children. So having somebody on your team being impacted, it's really emotionally tough. And it's not only tough for the ones impacted, it's also tough on the ones that are not impacted. Everybody is going through it and processing these emotions. A lot of things going through your head in terms of not only how are you going to maintain your livelihood because of the macroeconomic environment not being very, it's been a little bit in flux. So many, not many opportunities, yet many applicants. So what I have been doing to support my team and others on my broader team impacted is just being there and being a human first. I think it's more important for us to first acknowledge and process these emotions before we even start thinking about what's next. I think for the most part, we've been very fortunate that most tech companies who've been going through these layoffs have been offering fairly generous compensation packages that kind of help people through the transition period. In addition to that, I think that Microsoft, I can speak to Microsoft specifically, they're offering career services and placement services. Now, I know that not every company does that, so I don't want to,
Yes, you're right.
However, as a manager, and I know my peer manager, what we've been doing is helping with connecting our people with our network, as well as helping them with their resume, helping them understand what they need in terms of next level, and try to turn this challenge into an opportunity. It's very important to keep in mind that this is just temporary. An economy will eventually go back and,
Very good program with Microsoft. Yeah. I will go to Abir first, Michelle, if you don't mind. We are here in the Middle East, Abir. I know you are in the banking industry. How is the banking industry impacted by these layoffs, or is it? And because what we heard or what we have read is that the women are the most vulnerable in this kind of situation. So how is it in your industry, Abir, please, and in this region?
Yes, first, hello, Irene. Hello, all the ladies. Happy International Women's Day, and hello to our audience joining from different parts of the world. Very excited to be here with you to discuss all those topics that are really of utmost importance to us all. In the banking industry, as you said, Irene, actually we witness here the opposite. We are suffering from resource scarcity. And yes, and we are trying to do a lot of capacity building efforts and initiatives because we need the resources and the initiatives that we're working on. Actually, on the other hand, we are trying to retain the caliber because there are so many other opportunities. So this is quite the opposite. So we are actually in a race that we need to provide the needed resources at the right time. And we are doing a lot of those initiatives right now. For women in banking, I want to share a piece of information that may come as a surprise to our audience. In Egypt, we have several large banks whose head of cybersecurity or their chief CISO is a woman. So yes, the biggest banks in the country, the CISOs are women. So this is very good. We are trying also to do initiatives that when we are hiring, we bring in equal male to female ratio. Currently, my team is set at 30% female versus 70% male. However, this should automatically adjust with the new recruitment policies of 50-50. In the latest hiring, I hired 6, and 3 of them were women and 3 of them men. So I think this situation will eventually improve with time and reach the 50-50 objective. So here we are doing a lot of, as I said, the capacity building initiatives. Maybe we will talk about this later in the discussion. We'll highlight those.
So your challenge here is how to attract, retain, and continuously develop. So Eva, you can refer to your resources because Abir is looking for, yeah? Yeah. That's great to hear, Abir, as well in the terms of the policy of 50-50 that you were saying, because this would really mean a lot for, in terms of the DEI initiative. Michelle, last, of course, but not the least, definitely would like to hear from you.
Yeah, thank you for having me, and thanks for everybody who took the time to join today. Hopefully, our words of wisdom have some helpful impact on you. But looking forward to your questions. There's a lot in that. Currently, my organization at Accenture is not being impacted by layoffs, but I've been, in the tech industry for quite a while at Microsoft, IBM, et cetera. So I've gone through quite, a few layoffs, and being in consulting, we also assist people. And I would say, I think, kind of building on what other women here said, is that the first thing to remember is that you are not your job title. You are more than that, right? You are a person with interest and family and friends, and your job title isn't who you are. The other thing is, I truly believe when one door closes, another opens. So there's over 200 jobs in cybersecurity. Maybe your existing job wasn't your passion. So this is a new opportunity to take advantage of that 2.2 million person gap in cybersecurity and think, where do I want to spend my time and energy? Because I really feel that, energy builds energy. And then just building a little bit on what Abir had said about committing to metrics. When we look at D&I, I've been, at different organizations over the years where on panels like this, it's all men who are supporting women, right? Which is great. But how about give women a seat at the table? listen to our ideas, right? That's what really makes a difference. And our CEO, Julie Sweet, has even, committed to numbers of women in various job roles. And those metrics really drive the way that the organization hires and recruits, and even the way meetings just kind of play out. So it's very refreshing, I'll say.
That's nice to hear. Only first question, and look at all these amazing answers that we're getting from you all, and different situation in different parts of the world and in different parts of industries. Now, in terms of, we're talking about our career. Now we're having the career, we're losing the career because of all of this transition, or we're being built by the organization where we are in. I'd like to ask about career paths in cyber, because this is one of the very common questions, especially for women. Either they are starting to enter, or they are already there, how they are going to hold on and keep themselves in this position, or in this career path, or they are transitioning from another role. Perhaps I'd like to ask them this from Marlene, and then also from Abir. Because Abir, I know Abir, she mentioned she came from she transitioned from one career to another. So I'd like to hear from both of you, please.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'll go ahead and share. One of my passions is emerging technologies, in particular Web3, decentralized technologies, and blockchain. And what I'd love to say is that so if you're currently in cybersecurity, all of the skill set that you already have, all of those positions are going to easily transfer into the Web3 and the emerging technology space. As a matter of fact, this is where we will get the demand even more than what we have already mentioned for people coming into cybersecurity of all levels, all backgrounds, all experience. And so I think in the emerging space, there's a lot of opportunities to learn the new technology. And one of the things that I've enjoyed in terms of learning new technology is participating in blockchain, hackathons, Web3 hackathons, working with the communities that are standing up free tools and collaboration on Discord channels and otherwise. There's so much collaboration and so much excitement. I think we've all seen, for example, the information sharing around ChatGPT. And AI technologies, and just people are really excited about it. There's a sense of excitement about what these technologies bring to bear. And with that comes a lot of collaboration, a lot of questions. Just being curious, I would say, is a really good skill set. So for those who do not currently have a background in cybersecurity and are wishing to get into cybersecurity, start with just curiosity, with networking, with joining in on some of these forums where people are sharing information, because everyone is really trying to learn some of the new technology. And there's some great groups, especially for women. One that I want to call out is Crypto Chicks. So Crypto Chicks is international, and it's a great place to start if you want to learn about Web3 and blockchain technologies.
Yeah, so for our audience, take note of that, Crypto Chicks, if you want to get your feet starting, okay, on this industry. Abir, how about you, please?
Yes, it's a good opportunity to share what's going on here in the Middle East. There was this, especially when we're talking about skills, there was this perception a few years ago that women are most suitable only for security governance type of jobs, because that was perceived as easier. It's mostly documentation. They can manage, their work-life balance and go home at decent times. However, if you've noticed, Irene, and you're seeing in Saudi Arabia, in the UAE, and in Egypt, now we see many girls go into security operations. And they are SOC analysts, and they manage their shifts, and they can stay in the late night shifts. It really depends on how they organize their times, and they are being super flexible about it. So that's one perception buster. No, they can work. Women can work in operations, security operations, as well as governance, as well as any type of job within the cybersecurity larger domain. As for, you were saying the second part of the question, transferring from one career to another, the shifting. Yes. So I used to work in IT. So I was an IT administrator. Then I got my interest in cybersecurity, and I started studying the different certifications to equip myself to be in that domain. So yes, there is no, limit, whether it's gender limit or age limit. There is no limit on the time you can transfer and change your careers. It really depends on your passion and your ability to dedicate the time and the effort to specialize, because there are different specializations. You need to equip yourself with the needed bodies of knowledge that will equip you to specialize in the new subdomains in cybersecurity, in the different domains, if you're coming from different IT backgrounds. There was also
Kabir, I think we lost
this perception that people who work in cybersecurity must come from engineering or computer science, or however, I have been increasingly meeting CISOs in Europe who are philosophy major. They have a philosophy background, so there is no really limitation on the background. Actually, it enriches. Those with the philosophy major tend to be, with the very strategic vision. They can develop very good cybersecurity strategies. So there is no really a limit on the background. It depends on the passion, as I said, and the dedication we are willing to put in terms of time and effort to succeed in this field.
Yeah, and also in addition to that, of course, it's not only about our dedication and willingness, there's also need to be a support system that will welcome us here in the, like what Abir is saying, if I may just share with you ladies and also our audience, there are an increasing support with the government in terms of increasing the women participation in the organization. There are some KPIs that need to have a certain number of women in the workforce, something like that, not only in cyber, but totally in the overall in the workforce. And a very famous RSA and Black Hat of the US, when they came here in the Middle East last year, they said it recorded the most number of women speakers in cybersecurity. So we are happy that the region is coping up. Now, it's also important to know that there is an effort to sustain the women in the cybersecurity and also in our organization. Michelle, if I may ask, and also Eva, Michelle, you've been in military and different various government organizations, right? For example, in the military, they call it the man's world, but not anymore, right? Now, cybersecurity is the same. How is it? I'm talking about now of the challenges of women. This also addresses to Eva, okay? The challenges that women are facing still until this time, in spite of a lot of effort, local, regional, and global, that women, there should be equal equity, diversity. We still face it. What can you say about this, Michelle, and any advice on the women, especially those who might feel that they are being underestimated or what?
Yeah, I would say, for a majority of my career, I was the only woman in the room. I needed to get used to that. I found at the time, a lot younger in my career, that I really love football. I grew up cheering and dancing and loved the Pittsburgh Steelers. Go to a lot of football games, and I found that to be a bridge. But then later in my career, now I just turned 45 this weekend, so I've been reflecting a lot, right, on the last 20 years in particular, and I've come to the realization that you need to find your own power, and for me, I realized that power isn't given, power isn't earned. My greatest source of power is inside of me. And if I can nurture that and I can feed that and I can take different experiences and leverage those, then I can do whatever I want. And that was very, I would say, freeing. So, don't wait for someone to give you power. You have it.
Yeah, okay. Eva, what are the benefits actually of having women?
Yeah, absolutely. So first, I definitely resonate with something that Michelle said, and I just want to add on to it. I think I definitely have experienced the same kind of being the only woman in the room for most of my career, especially earlier in the days. I think it's getting definitely better. And what I try to do is I always used to kind of try to dress a little bit like men. I try to act a little bit like a man. You know, I just really, and I think I was doing this subconsciously just to try to blend in. And I also felt like that's how I am being heard. And then as the year progressed, I actually have been investing a lot in helping women in technology. I co-founded an organization actually 3 years ago that helps women in tech. And what I realized was that by doing so, I was not setting the right example for other women. I was sending the message that no, it's not okay to be a woman in the field, right? So I think that what I kind of learned is that just, and that's why I said it's tagging on to what Michelle said, embrace who you are. If you are comfortable in your femininity, embrace that. Wear color, wear hoops. I mean, look at me. I'm sending a message right now. It's okay to be you. So this is super important. And to your question, why is it important to have women in the field? I mean, it is the elephant in the room. We are an untapped resource, and there is a very big shortage in the field, as Michelle was mentioning earlier. In addition to that, we do bring thought diversity. Women just are built to be a little bit more nurturing. We also bring kind of a different perspectives on things. I continue to work with the majority of men. However, I do have more women colleagues now. And definitely I have felt in the rooms where we have more gender and otherwise diversity, we tend to yield better solutions, and we tend to kind of come up with more ideas. So I think that thought diversity is super important as well.
Well, great. And Michelle, I'd like to ask as well. That's a very important point, Eva. That diversity of men and women bring different values, and the way we handle things different from men and different from women. At least there's a balance, no? Michelle, how about what do you think about how early should the cybersecurity, let's say, mindset be embedded? Do you think it should start from as early as the K to K-12, K-12 education, or beginning in the middle of the studies? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, with regard to diversity and kind of when to learn, I think whenever, if you have the passion for cybersecurity, if, you're in kindergarten or preschool, or you're in third grade, or you're, a sophomore in high school and college, or maybe it's your second career, right? And you're like, hey, what's a cybersecurity thing? I hear there's a lot of jobs there. I think it's never too late to start. A resource that I find helpful for people kind of exploring cybersecurity, and I share a lot, is the NIST cybersecurity framework is kind of like the overall. So take a read, say, does any of this interest me? If not, just kind of push it to the side and maybe find something else. Or the NIST NICE framework. So the NICE framework, it shows that there's over 200 job titles in cybersecurity, and that's just now, right? We all know in 10 years those job titles are going to be a lot different, because 10 years ago those job titles didn't exist, right? So I think it's just taking a look at these different resources, and when you can start getting involved. If coding and reverse engineering is your passion, great. If it's more, I came from psychology and systems engineering, and then got into cybersecurity in my career, right? It was like, wow, this is really cool. I like this. So I would say, follow your gut, follow your passion, and take a look at some of these resources and talk to people in the field to kind of hear what they're doing. There's over 200 jobs, so there's a lot of people to talk to, and see if any of those items kind of come together with what your interests are, what your strengths are, and kind of what you're interested in learning.
Yeah, you're talking about the specific fields in the technology now. Marlene, I wanted to ask you, because you mentioned about Web3. Is there a promising career in Web3 for those who are in the audience who are passionate about entering IT or the STEM, or specifically going into that particular direction? And anything about security part of it that we should know?
Yes, I have a couple of great stories to share on this one. So one of the stories I want to share is because it left such an impression on me. Many of you are aware of the Grace Hopper Conference. So a few years back, Microsoft was sponsoring, of course, they're a big sponsor of Grace Hopper, and I went to the conference and we broke out in groups. And part of the group breakout was to network and to learn how, how we all got into our cybersecurity or whatever our career field is. And so I was speaking to the woman next to me, and we had to introduce ourselves, tell what our job is and how we got into the career field. And what she told me is that she just got hired by Microsoft in the AI machine learning group. And prior to that, I said, oh, that's so fascinating. What were you doing prior? She said, I was a bird of prey trainer. And I said, wow, how does that, how do you go from being a bird of prey trainer into AI and machine learning? Like what interests you in that? She said, it's teaching non-human things how to think, how to respond. So even that experience, non-technical, a bird of prey trainer, and Microsoft had the foresight to see that that diversity and that aptitude and interest that this person had could lend itself into teaching a model, like in what we need in machine learning and AI. Such a wonderful story of companies that can see diverse backgrounds. And also what Michelle and Eva and all of us have been saying is follow your passion. Bring you, not your corporate, who you work for as the identity, bring your own identity and passion into your corporation and make a difference there. So that was such a great story. In Web3, I have another story I want to share. So I started participating in hackathons and leading hackathon teams. And one of the hackathon challenges that we had, many of us were novices. We had never experienced any of this technology, so we were learning as we were building, which is a great way to go. And one of the women in our group, it was me and another woman, she did not have technical background, but she had great communication skills, great PR skills, media skills. And from that experience, now today, she is working for a company building NFTs. She is a community program manager. Many of these communities need someone who can sponsor and work in the Discord channels, help people onboard with the tooling, help explain how their platforms work. And she has gone from not having that experience to just saying, I'm willing to learn, and just starting to learn the technology. And now she's working for an NFT company. So I think that's some of the exciting things I'm seeing. And then finally, I want to say in the auditing field, there's a lot of opportunities to learn how to take auditing skills, analytical skills, and get a career in looking for fraud on blockchain. So those are some of the exciting areas that I think are emerging and maybe not necessarily dealing with, security engineering background.
Yeah, the very nice and interesting stories. Another Microsoft, like I love Microsoft. Okay, just hearing all of this, taking care of the people who are getting laid off and hiring people is not really, you'll surprise why. How did you get into this kind of work? Okay, I have a question on policy, and I'd like to ask this to Abir. Okay, to Abir and Michelle, and then after that, just to get the just to get the interest of the audience as well, I'd like to ask. Following that, I'd like to ask Eva about securing ChatGPT, because ChatGPT is all around, or maybe Eva and Michelle, Marlene can also talk about that. So Abir and Michelle, when it comes to policy implementation, how would you know whether the policy is strictly enforced? And if not, I mean, how do you audit in terms of the implementation of this? How do you ensure the compliance? How do you assess the compliance level of this? And when it comes to, let's say, attack, whether it is minor or major, how do you address it in the organization from the top level to the end users? Yeah, Abir?
Yeah, so two questions.
I know.
Yes,
Policy and how to address those who are violating the policies.
Yes. Yeah, for the security policies, It's a program whereby you get, you get the approval, you ensure the buy-in from senior management, and then gets communicated to everyone, to all the employees within the organization, and then they are aware of it, and they are aware that they must comply with it. Of course, there are KPIs, because you have to measure this level of compliance with the policies, and to ensure that you are measuring this compliance, because you will not be able to see how effective those policies are without having a mechanism of measuring the level of compliance with those policies. Of course, you accompany this with awareness, additional awareness, to explain the risks. Why do we have those policies? We don't just like to, this perception about the security team, oh, you're always blocking everything, you're always giving us the little access to. So we have
no USB, no USB, no password, repeated 7 times from the past 7 passwords.
Yeah, so they have to understand the rationale behind those restrictions, and that they are in the best interest of the security of the organization, considering its exposure and its, threat profile. So yeah, so you enforce with the senior management buy-in, and you measure the level of compliance, and you also accompany this by awareness to explain to them the rationale behind the restrictions. As for the second part of the question, for expectation of cyber attacks or cyber incident response, there is the resilience program. The resilience program that requires us, that of course we have the incident response policies, and they go all the way from you go from educating incident response to the employees and to the affected teams, to the management as well. To tabletop exercises that they have to see, simulated exercises of cyber attacks, to know how to practice the response that is in the incident response policies. So additional also, collaboration from my role goes outside the organization as well, because chairing the cybersecurity committee for the federation of the banks here in Egypt, we are also building collaboration between the banks, because as we have seen in the recent report from the World Economic Forum after the Davos meeting, they said that many business leaders expect that in the coming 2 years, it's because of all the geopolitical changes going on right now, that there may be a serious cyber-related series of events. They are calling it a cyber storm is in the gathering. So such a cyber storm requires more collaboration in threat intel sharing between banks within the same financial sector, and as well within the country between different sectors, and also within CERT between different countries. So it requires a lot of threat intel sharing, a lot of collaboration, and practicing incident response and knowledge sharing between the different organizations. So all of this is necessary to enhance the resilience. You want to be able to ensure that in the case of a cyber attack, you know how to respond and how to recover from such an attack with minimal business disruption.
But yeah, and of course, when you say sharing threat intel reports, this is does not go beyond sharing confidential information. Yeah,
of course,
and
of course,
Michelle,
yes.
On policy implementation, please.
Yeah, I would say, well, Abir did an amazing job of kind of covering the wealth of what organizations tend to do. At Accenture, and we have a very robust information security organization that's programmatized, as a cyber strategy with governance and incident response and technology operations, deployment and change, in order to capture every portion of the enterprise. And when you look at governance, risk, and compliance, there's all the major cybersecurity industry frameworks that are a good start. When I talk to CISOs and CIOs across the US and state and local governments, there's no mandate for state and local governments to follow a particular cybersecurity framework. However, a lot are adopting the NIST cybersecurity framework 853 as their base frame of reference, and that's a great start. And I talked to them a lot about how cybersecurity, although it might sound trite, is a journey and not a destination, because it really is. Cyber attacks are just going to continue to evolve and increase, and tactics are going to change, and technology is going to change. So you need to continuously evolve and relook and imagine your cybersecurity strategy, just like you do your budget on on a quarterly basis, or your workforce strategy on a quarterly basis. And I think I appreciate that Abir actually mentioned the World Economic Forum paper about cybersecurity for 2023. Accenture partnered with the World Economic Forum to produce that paper, and I often share it around because I think what it does is it really kind of validates what a lot of people, especially CISOs, I think the duration of career for a CISO in any particular job is somewhere around under 2 years. So it's a very transient field. It seems to be at the time. And what that paper does is really kind of validates that, there is this disconnect right now between business leaders and cybersecurity leaders. However, the kind of shining light is that business leaders aim to understand. Right? So I think the more that we can explain cybersecurity in layman's terms, using lots of analogies, making it real, and kind of thinking about what's the so what for this person. Okay, why would my CFO care? Oh, well, my CFO would care because we have, $400 billion of investments, and that's a large, when you think about cyber attackers, right? Like I think if I'm on the other side of the table, if I'm a cyber attacker and my portfolio is state and local governments, what am I going to go after in order to meet my objectives as a cyber attacker, right? So, one of those objectives are usually money, so big pots of money. Others, low-hanging fruit, right? Or to siphon off information for intelligence purposes, right? Tends to be kind of the three majors that I see. So just to kind of recap, since I went off on a little bit of a trail there, really making cybersecurity a comprehensive strategy, programatizing it, and getting the support of the organization behind it by speaking in layman's terms.
Interesting.
Yes, Irene, if you allow me, I think Michelle, mentioned the report. It's very useful. Very useful if our audience is watching to read this report, because there is also the part about cyber insurance statistics that is very, very, very useful, because I have been looking for benchmarking statistics on cyber insurance, which organizations and the number of employees and all these details, if they actually successfully got a claim accepted or not, if the claim was rejected, all these statistics, it was not available easily. So it's beautifully listed in the report. So I advise our audience to read it if they have not already.
Yes, they're very interesting, and also just the World Economic Forum, there are a lot of videos, interviews regarding this. So we're also advising the audience to look at this. Eva, we're talking about people wanted to come in and stay in the cyber, but at the same time there's this ChatGPT who seems like gonna take the job from them. Can you tell us, walk us through with this, please?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm actually delivering a keynote on the impact of AI and cybersecurity about a couple of weeks from now. So I've been reflecting a lot about on this topic, and I want to respond by looking at not just ChatGPT. ChatGPT is just one materialization of the bigger picture of the AI. There's a lot of ChatGPTs out there today. ChatGPT is just getting a lot of love, in terms of general public. But I think when we look at AI and its impact on cybersecurity, this one thing I just want to assure everyone, it will not take our job. So rest assured. Yet we do need to be mindful. It will transform not only the way how we approach cybersecurity, but also the way how we live our lives. Similarly, when personal computers became available, or when the smartphone, you know, in 2007 came out, these are all things that change the way we live and the way we use technology and the way we live our lives. As a result, attackers change their behaviors. So we as defenders need to adopt these, you know, these new technologies and try to stay ahead of the game. So there are two aspects of AI that I think are very positive, that will have a very positive impact in AI from a very broad brush perspective. One of it is that it will actually enable us to potentially turn the tables between defenders and attackers. Attackers historically have been the first to innovate, but I think with AI, we get this power to actually make decisions faster and to be able to, you know, connect the dots between a lot of different indicators of compromise, respond much faster, right? Correlate to real threat intelligence. I think these are all things combined with the massive power of cloud that can supercharge our defense capabilities. And another part is something that my boss, Charlie Bell, keeps mentioning, so I'm gonna just kind of reiterate that, is that it will create more kind of lower barriers to entry, because ChatGPT, AI in general, right? It can write code for us. It can make faster decisions for us, much faster than any analyst can go and look at multiple screens to correlate stuff. It can even help us fast track to compliance. So what that tells us is that we can automate a lot of the things that, you know, somebody more skilled can do, and then we can have human go and make sure we fine tune that code to fit our organization. When I say code, like for offensive security, which is my area of expertise currently, we can create simulated attack campaigns in a matter of, you know, minutes versus somebody going and working on them in days. So there is tons of opportunities with AI being on the table. However, with every disruptive change, people tend to, you know, experience resistance. There is some fear, right? How will that impact me? So I do urge everybody to embrace AI, ChatGPT as a positive change, and work on some of the skills that would be applicable, such as prompt engineering, or being able to chain multiple AIs and, you know, derive data from that, being able to fine-tune AIs and feed it appropriate data sources based on your organizational needs. These are all relevant skills, so you don't have to be a AI guru or anything like that, and that's the beauty of AI, because you don't have to be, but you can still use it. So yeah, these are my thoughts on that.
Yeah, and that's very interesting when you said that there's a lot of good use of AI and not to abuse it, actually, because giving the benefit of the chat GPT, let's just say, for example, and also the AI, these are also, on the other hand, okay, these are also being misused. Like, for example, we're already reading a lot. Some students would write their thesis or their dissertation using a chat GPT. There are some who's selling books now, just gave some topics and they write the book. Yes, I heard a lot of this. So I hope they this chat GPT thing and the benefits of AI can be used more for the benefits economically, not personally. I'm sorry to say that.
Oh,
Okay,
yeah.
I will have perhaps. I'm sorry.
Oh, I just said there is a whole nother topic on the ethics response.
Yes, definitely another. Maybe 1 hour is not enough for that. And maybe I will have last question for this discussion to Marlene, and then I will have to go back to Richa, because for sure there are other questions coming from the audience. Marlene, can you help us understand, for example, in the cases in let's say sub-Saharan Africa, the cybersecurity professionals there are, let's say, facing some restrictions. They would like to do pen testing or want to be a cyber practitioners. However, they are blocking. There are some restrictions that they cannot access these sites, etc. How do you think will they grow in their profession with such limitation, restriction, or being charged, you know?
Yes, yes. This is so I'm really excited about what I'm seeing coming from this region. So much talent. And once again, I do have to call back to my hackathon team experience because I had the pleasure of working with people in my team from these regions. And one of the best capabilities is open source. I see that the open source tools are amazing, and there's localizations. There's community contributors who are working on doing the translations for these tools, just so much. So there's so many ways to contribute to making these open source platforms be usable for an international audience. And so I guess that would be my avenue, and what I've experienced as getting really strong. These communities are really feeling this sense of solving problems for the world and coming together to solve these problems for the world. And there's many sponsors, even the UN in the economic development arena. There's so many sponsors that are sponsoring a lot of these initiatives, and some of these individuals who are working on these open source in these open source communities and building tools to solve problems, such as the problems that are being mentioned here with some of these restrictions, that it's actually showing the industry and showing the regulators and showing those who are enforcing these restrictions that, hey, we as humanity can come together to do this differently and to solve problems. So I'm actually seeing it's a kind of a grassroots effort that is taking wave and really super powerful. And so I think it's not a limitation. I would say deliberately go look for these open source platforms, these communities that are solving problems, lots of talent. We often think of talent coming from certain regions. I'm seeing so much talent. And to what Abir said, there's a demand. So you're sort of seeing the opposite. And I think we have to be mindful of that on an international level. And I would challenge those who maybe are thinking about career changes or layoffs as we started this conversation, maybe be open to going and working somewhere in a different country where your skill set would be something that would give you new opportunities and open up your aperture and see what kind of problems solve for the world with this new technology.
Yeah, like what we said, right? There were layoffs in the Microsoft, while a beer company is hiring, in the Egypt it's hiring, and the banking industry. So why not? Yeah, transferring to another country, but maybe the same industry that you'd like to, or a different, let's say, avenue to improve or go into a different career path. Okay, so that was a very interesting discussion, ladies. Really enjoying the discussion, and I'm glad to hear all of this from all of you. And I believe the audience are really learning a lot from you, from us. I have some questions in here. This came from the audience already. How can women engineers contribute to the industry? How women in the engineers Oh, sorry, it's repeated. Yeah, how can women engineers contribute overall to this industry? Maybe the student is talking, the audience is talking about engineer in cyber, engineer in the banking, engineer, let's say, as a programmer. Yeah, anyone would like to take this?
I know I just spoke, but I really have a passion. I have to say one thing: find a mentor, be a mentor, share your knowledge. And in sharing your knowledge, you also learn. Everyone learns at all levels from everyone, and be open to not knowing the answers. Be open to having the right questions. And so I think that's one of the most powerful things that anyone at any level of their career, engineering, as an auditor, a compliance person, data privacy, be willing to share your knowledge with others and learn from others.
Yeah. If I may also say, by the way, learning from others, I do that a lot. By the way, we have a group, the Women in Cyber Middle East, and you know, when it comes to cybersecurity, there are different areas, right? You have the pen testers, you have the SOC team, you have the compliance and incident response team, etc. So you cannot wear all of these hats together. But being in a community where you are hearing all of these discussions happening, in a simple WhatsApp group, you are learning and you are getting yourself involved in one way or another and being familiar with what's happening out there in their respective areas. No? Okay. Abir, maybe I'd like to ask this question to you. How can women contribute in the world of tech world due to the massive changes in economy and digital transformation?
Yes, of course, the banking industry, so that's a spot on question because
Yes.
in the banking industry, especially, again, my experiences here in the region, when COVID hit, some of our services, I mean, in the banking industry in general, were still offered in the branches. So COVID was an opportunity for banks to move all the services to be digital, and moving the services to be digital, that required contribution from all the teams, of course, and adoption also of new disruptive technologies. I see that Marlene has an interest in blockchain, and actually at that time, during the COVID, when we considered also blockchain for remittance, so we got that up and running quickly. We did all the testing and all that. So here, although we are the security team, actually we were the team who proposed to management that we use this blockchain system for faster remittance. The Egyptians living abroad and wanted to send the money back home to their families, and we wanted something fast and reliable. So we had this great opportunity to work on a blockchain system. Of course, so here, the cybersecurity role expanded from the traditional role of, protecting the data and protecting from cyber attacks, to being an advisor to business, to adopting some of those new disruptive technologies and advising business on them. So that was one area where we saw that it required a lot of contribution from the different teams to speed up this digital transformation that, of course, COVID started the acceleration of. So that was an opportunity for digital transformation and for the different teams to contribute to the tech domain.
Yeah, in fact, during the COVID, the effort to, let's say, facilitate was doubled, no? You have to, it's not, you have to plan, but you have to now during the COVID. Okay, Michelle, a student here needs your advice. As a student, a person, specifically girl, may face financial problems too that may keep them from growing in their dreams. What could be the economic ways of such problems and enhancement to their skills? Yeah, we need to support a lot of girls like in this situation, really.
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of free resources out there. The Ms. Nice framework provides a lot of both pay as well as other trainings, and it also lists out like 2- and 4-year colleges, things like that. That's a good resource. Also, the Women in Cybersecurity, it's called WISIX, or WISIS, depending on how you pronounce it. It was born out of a grant, and it's really grown into a great organization, especially for folks right out of their careers. About half of the folks in WISIX, at least last time I looked, were students. And you don't have to be a student, right? You just have to be somebody who wants to learn. So I think, and they also provide scholarships for their membership, like if you have a financial hardship or something like that. That could be a great benefit. There's also a lot of organizations, at least in the US, in the federal government or in the state and local government, that offer tuition reimbursement or offer paid internships. Like Accenture offers paid internships, things like that. And you don't need to have a degree per se. So I would say there are some opportunities. I think what the nut of it is that I was thinking about the question that was asked a couple minutes ago about like, how do you get started in cybersecurity if you're coming from another domain, right? So find your interest, find your passion. But then what I have found to be useful is start somewhere, right? Like find an area and kind of dig into it. For me, that was like physical security, and then because it was in the intelligence community, and then it was regulations and policy and compliance, and then I've got really into identity and access management. I find having a center competency of, technical means a lot of different things to a lot of different people, right? But having a central competency is kind of a corner you can always pull and grow from. And I really think momentum begets momentum.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes,
So
and
for our
Irene, adding to that, in the past, if someone would ask, how do I learn if I don't have the economical means to do that? That would have been difficult in the past. But now there are lots of free resources, and if you follow many of for example, if you want to specialize in penetration testing, you would find a lot of, I would say, specialized influencers like Gabrielle, like the Rana Khalil Academy. They all offer their lessons on a YouTube channel, and you can tune in and learn. There are lots, and they frequently share free resources for learning, so it's available now. So learning and specializing now in cybersecurity is a lot easier than before, so they can tune in and get the free learning. Yes,
even the technical part of it, there are some websites who offer a free access on their lab. Just create an account, although some of them are limited, right? Let's just say 20 or 30 days. Then create an email account. Once it expires, continue with another email account, right? So there are always ways and means, and our internet is accessible already to everyone, although there are still countries who are not reached by the technology, but there are a lot of options already. So the advice here by our panelists and all of us here to our audience who are entering and trying to improve their skills is to look at a lot of free resources. If there's a part of a difficulty in terms of financial thing, there are a lot of influencers ready to share, and YouTube as well. A lot, just YouTube something and you will see sometimes 1 hour or more. Okay. There's one question here which is situation related, cyber situation related. Among the panelists, has any one of you suffered a major cyber incidents like ransomware or data breach? And how did you manage the situation? And how adequate is CISO certification in such industry, cybersecurity? Yeah, addressing to all of you.
I spent a lot of time working with teams who responded to cyber attacks at multinational organizations. And what I found during that time is it's a lot about, Abir mentioned having your organization ensuring they have an incident response plan, ensuring that you exercise that plan. It's kind of like being a firefighter or a police officer. The first time that you encounter a fire isn't when it occurs, right? You practice, who's going to do what, who needs to be on that team, right? It's the same with cyber attacks. So I think, if what I advise CISOs is, be resilient, get strategic, and embed security in everything you do, kind of three little things. The first thing about being resilient is being ready for that rainy day. And there's a couple of levers there, right? Have an incident response plan. Maybe you have an incident response retainer. Maybe you have a company. Maybe you don't have the talent internally. So maybe there's a company that does that for you. Maybe your cyber insurance provides a company for that, right? So don't feel like you have to build it, right? You can, but it's, with the 2.2 million person gap in talent, you're going to play a pretty penny. And even the big tech companies have a hard time, recruiting that kind of talent. The second vein is have backup. So that way, because a lot of these times cyber attackers, their motives are to disrupt, right? It's to steal money or to disrupt usually. So if you can disrupt critical infrastructure, water, electricity, power, right, for people, that creates a big hubbub. So be ready, have those systems, have hot backup, cold backup, so that way you're able to quickly turn the dial and flip to your backup when you need it. So that way your organization can continue to do its business, right? And then kind of going in the back end, you kind of have to, go in and see where the attackers actually are. Usually most attackers are in the environment for over a year before they're detected. So you don't, you have to be very careful. Like you need to identify, what did they steal? What data did they take? What do they have on us? What systems are they in, right? So it takes a bit of time to rebuild, and that's a plan and a program and a roadmap to kind of put yourself on the path to health. And to be honest, that's the catalyst to change that I've seen a lot of companies, especially maybe 10 years ago when cyber attacks weren't as publicized. The catalyst for change really was, oh shoot, we got attacked. Like, what is this, right? And then they're like, okay, now tell me about this cyber stuff. What do I need to do? I need a plan. Okay, identity and access management. What in the world does that mean, right? And then you kind of build the snowball from there. But I would definitely check into what your organization has prepared for when an incident occurs.
Okay, so being resilient is the key word, no? Yeah. And
regarding the second part for the CISO certification,
Abir.
I think yes, I took this certification before a few years back, and I think it's very useful if someone is considering it, because it's almost the only one of its kind addressing this CISO level, and with lots of focused content for the areas that a CISO would care about, from risk management to strategy to governance, all this. So I think it's very useful. And also, if you know the authors, I later got a chance to meet with the authors, and I saw how much knowledgeable they were. So I think this is a good certification to pursue if you're aspiring to do the CISO and reach the CISO level and all that.
Okay, so Marlene, same question, and this will be the last, and then I will hand over back to Richa. So have you ever had an incident and how it was handled, and anything you can advise in terms of situation or incident attacks, ransomware, or
Yeah, so I've managed cybersecurity operations for most of my career, actually. So I've had many incidents in the past. And one of the things that I'm always impressed at is how our cyber defenders and everyone, the business, every customers even, come together and, are very supportive. I think the main thing is just to be transparent. There's a legal process, obviously, of what you can share once you have information confirmed, but the sooner you have information regarding, let's say it's data breach, and you can establish that trust with your consumers, I think that lends itself really well for the companies who understand that. And then the other thing is really the post incident. So after all of the heroism, getting the containment and so forth, there's really a lot of work that is done after, looking back. How did this happen? Root cause analysis, reprioritizing things. I think that's where I've seen a lot of the work that maybe doesn't always get talked about, but is actually what makes us better. And being able to take those lessons learned and really working on those improvements. Some companies will actually maybe accelerate their cloud initiatives, for example. They may move off-prem and go into modern technologies, or something that has been on the backlog, on the roadmap, but now it's accelerated because of having to rebuild and look at things in a different way post-recovering from major incidents. And CISOs can be very helpful in helping to drive those priorities, and engaging with the business and with customers on what post-incident looks like. And so last, I think I want to say, I'm seeing cybersecurity be more about trust and transparency. And this is what I'm most excited about. Instead of saying, hey, we're down here and we're telling you something bad can happen, now I think the world is seeing that data is very important and it has value, and we want to protect that. And so trust and transparency is more of the positive part our career field is going, and that's what I'm excited about.
Thank you. Very interesting. And also for the information of the audience, okay? When we say we are in the cybersecurity and we're talking about incidents like this, like what Marlon mentioned, it's trust and transparency. However, don't just go out there and announce that you had an attack, okay? You have your legal team, you have your communications team, let them handle this, okay? So very important that to keep the trust of your customers. However, it is not our role to speak out in the media. Okay, so just a note on that. Okay, I would like to call on Richa right now, and before I hand over to back to Richa, I'd like to thank you very much, Abir, Michelle, and Marlene. We are all in different time zones, I know, and then but really wonderful to have you all here. I believe our audience, our attendees really learned a lot. We have answered their questions, especially the women who are entering and thriving to be in the information security and cybersecurity field. So thank you very much to all of you. Thank you to all of the audience who are here. And you might want to say something before we hand it back to Richard.
Yes, thank you very much, Irene. You've been an amazing moderator, really, and I enjoyed the discussion very much, adding insights to all of our answers. And it's been a great, learning experience for me to hear all the insights from the amazing ladies we have. Michelle, Eva, and Marlene. It's been very insightful. So it's a pleasure to be here with you today. And to our audience, thank you for tuning in. And one thing I have learned from my journey is that to succeed in cybersecurity, you really have to have this grit of you would face challenges, a lot of them, and you would face a lot of obstacles, but you have to come back strong and continue this wonderful journey, wonderful learning journey. Thank you.
Marlene?
Yes, thanks to the audience for taking the time. I understand that we had great attendance. It's an important topic, and you can see it's something that affects all of us worldwide. And I'm really excited about the information sharing and the things that we've discussed. And to use Michelle's words, I guess, to bring us home is it's a journey. It's always going to be a journey. And doing it with others and bringing others along is the joy that I have at this time in my career, which is why it's so important to have a forum like this, establish a network, find a mentor, and be willing to share the information that you have as appropriate, of course, but be willing to share the information that makes us all better.
Thank you. And Michelle?
Yeah, and thank you for the opportunity. And I'll just leave you all with 3 quick things. I would say, find your power, go for it, and be kind. Have a good day.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much to all of you. It's been a pleasure, my pleasure, to moderate this panel discussion with you, amazing ladies. Mashallah, I'm so proud and happy. On to you now, Richa.
Thank you so much, Irene. Wonderfully moderated the session. We don't feel like stopping, but we have to, time constraint. But I would like to thank all our wonderful panelists, Irene, Eva. She had to drop out because of some work commitment. Abir, Michelle, and Mayo. We're really wonderful to have you here. It was such a great presentation, and we've got a very, very good response. And we are really happy the information and the knowledge you've shared with the global audience. It really means a lot. And we're really looking for more and more sessions with you. Before we talk about the upcoming session, I would like to launch the poll for the audience if they're looking to learn about the preferred mode of training. Now, I'll just like to give our upcoming session details. Our next webinar is scheduled on March 24 on the topic penetration testing challenges for cloud-based application, IaaS, PaaS, and SaaS. And also don't forget to register for a women panel discussion, which is happening on 5th of April on the topic why you should learn ethical hacking, network security, digital forensic, and SOC for a perfect launch pad in the cybersecurity by a wonderful moderator and panelist Irene Corpus, with other panelists Lisa Bock, Mansi Thapar, and Hima. So don't forget to register on our website, and we're really looking to have you with us. Thank you so much to all the panelists. We're really looking forward for more and more sessions. It was a really wonderful session. Thank you so much. And now you
Thank you.
may all can disconnect the line. Thank you so much, Irene, Abir,
Thank you. Thank you
Shelmore.
very
Wonderful to have you with us. Thank you so much. Have
Thank
a
you for
great
Thank you,
having us.
Richa. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank
bye.
you.
Bye.
Bye bye.